I think Sandeep did make the important point about the one eye on UP, the emphasis on youth, technocrats, on women, on backward classes. Sanjay, take that. Yeah.
My opinion, in my opinion, the big two buzzwords that are going to affect this government, and Mr. Modi is aware more than anybody else, is governance deficit. Now, this has begun to seep into people's minds. You remember, the pandemic's ramifications are going to be felt much longer than people think. A lot of political analysts seem to say, well, 3 years to the election, people are going to forget it. But, the coverage that you did of the bodies in the Ganga River, 4 lakh people dying within a year. And there are stories and poignant stories of pure devastation. I think this is a nightmare that is not going away in a hurry. And I think, Mr. Modi realizes that today, this is an opportunity for the Congress to say that, listen, we may not be the ultimate headline managers. We are probably one of the worst in public relations and media management. But hey, listen, when it comes to governance, we didn't bring you demonetization. We didn't execute GST as terribly. We didn't make the migrants walk on tracks and then die without food and money. And look at what has happened to you after the pandemic. Let's not even talk about the economy. I think for the Congress, the opportunity would definitely be that, listen, I may not win elections, but I can govern very well if you give me a chance. And I think Mr. Modi is probably going to try and nip that in the bud. And the only way he can do that is by giving new people a chance. Now, I do believe that this government doesn't have good talent, but Jyotiraditya, I would back him. Rajiv has got good corporate experience. Now, governance is a complex thing. If Mr. Modi is able to get a couple of these people to shine, then he may be just able to kind of arrest a decline in the perception of this government that it cannot govern. There is the whole story that the Congress cannot win elections, but it can govern. The BJP can win elections, but cannot govern. I think Mr. Modi will be very desperate to try and reverse its story.
Sumanth, you're making the point that some of these exits cannot be seen as punishments, that there could be something else that we don't know about that lies ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, Barkha, as far as the exits go, yes, as I said, Dr. Harsh Vardhan's exit is certainly as much an admission that, maybe we messed up the COVID pandemic management as can possibly be expected from this government. Now, you have to realize that the basic policy of the government is never to admit to a fault. In 7 years, I cannot think of any time that a senior minister from this government has come forward and said, yes, we made a mistake and we should have done it this way. So on any issue, even now, demonetization, widely accepted as a disaster. Even now, the government will not talk about it, but nobody will say demonetization was a disaster. So the fact that Harsh Vardhan and Ashwini Chaubey have gone is the closest that we will get to an admission from this government that yes, we did something wrong and now we're trying to set it right. That's point number one. Second, this talk about we believe in hard work and not Harvard. Today we are sort of taking a little tiny baby step towards Harvard also may matter. Maybe it's not Harvard, maybe it's Stanford or in a few other universities, but we are taking a step back from our stated position that look, education really, is secondary and so on. The contempt that we had for these foreign educated people, that is sort of slowly being taken off. So those are two good things that I see that this government and Mr. Modi probably feel, yes, whether we admit it or not, we need to make these changes now. 3 years is still left for this government to perform. And I don't agree that all these people who have been brought in are those with proven track records of performance. We don't know the track record of performance of many of them. They're going to be first-time ministers. Some of them, have come in from the organization side and so on. So there is no guarantee that these people are going to perform. And some of those who have been promoted. Tell me, what has Anurag Thakur done so demonstrably wonderfully in the finance ministry to merit a promotion? So there are definitely political reasons beyond what we can see, both for the exits, some for the promotions and some for the new faces.
Quick comment from Prasanna. We were just discussing whether the exits are actually more significant than the entrants.
Barkha, we will have to look at this in entirety. You can't just look at the exits and the entrance. And in my view, interestingly, so this cabinet also includes Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, who's a former bureaucrat, a passer from the Wharton Business School, IIT Kharagpur passer.
Yeah,
so on and
we've
so
just been talking about the fact
and
that
he's also
education, professionalism.
He's also but he's also credited with institutionalizing the idea of PPP in India. The public-private partnership. And in my view, I think this whole cabinet reshuffle is a PPP, has a PPP factor to it, which is one is politics, performance, and perception. I think Mr. Modi has balanced it quite well, in terms of factoring in all these elements. And obviously there is a political angle to it, because at the end of the day, he is a politician, and there's a big election coming up in a couple of states, and then the national election 3 years down the line. But let's also not forget that there is an angle of performance that is being factored in by bringing in some of the technocrats as well. And my sense is, because before the reshuffle before the names actually got announced, there were a lot of speculations around names like Varun Gandhi and Rita Bahuguna Joshi and so on and so forth. And all of that has been proved wrong. And there are a lot of surprises that's been in store. So I think while it is easy to gather in television studios and debate on why this was done and so what implications it will have, so on and so forth, I really think a wait and watch approach is what would be a better service.
I think that's an important point. I think Yashwant and others also made it earlier about the induction of bureaucrats, the induction of expertise. There is finally some acknowledgement that expertise is needed.